Hello everyone, this is Riccardo Masini, this is Vlog, and this is Inferno, 11th campaign series. And please allow me some very personal dissatisfaction for this game. Why? Because this is a game about a very important segment of our own national history, or national Italian history and Italian culture. It is about the wars between the Guelphs and Ghibellines, between Firenze and Siena, and all of these conflicts have been incredibly described with beautiful and powerful poetry by our own national poet. And we call him our sommo poet, our high poet, that is Dante Alighieri in his Divine Comedy. And this is where this game takes its title, Inferno, Hell, which is Inferno is one of the portions of the Divine Comedy. That is the greatest work of Dante Alighieri. Dante was born one generation after these events, but these events still had a powerful impact on his own city, on Firenze, on Tuscany, on all Italy, and many of the characters that are depicted here in this game, such as Farinata de Uberti or others, are present in his Divine Comedy, are characters of his work. And it is, as I said on Twitter, it is a very high emotion to see these characters getting out of the books, out of the poem, and have life and begin moving, and you move them, you command them, and you lead them to fight all over Tuscany, all over this beautiful, beautiful map. This is, as I said, first of all, this is a beautiful game. You see that. It is a very, very high component quality, very high visual impact. The heraldry of each of those lords, of the single cities, is very accurate. And this is no surprise, since its author is, together with Volko Ruhnke, is Enrico Acerbi. And Enrico Acerbi is a friend of mine. I have this honor and pleasure, but is also a great historian and a scholar of medieval and not just medieval history of our own country, and he has made a great and incredible work here on this game, on the historical research for this game, but also on the game mechanics. Why? Because Enrico is also a very good game designer. So we had just this a great combination of things, and together with Volko Ruhnke and all the Levy Campaign team, they created what I personally consider the best up until now, but the most interesting for me, for an Italian for sure, but even the most dynamic. Maybe not the best, because this would be in detriment of the other titles, but surely the most dynamic and interactive and engaging title of the series. Just a couple of words on the series. Levy Campaign, you all know the main principles of the series. Since Nevsky or Almoravid, you have your lords, you move them on the map, but before you have to gain the service. The service is only temporary. When they reach one of those service markers, they go home, they disband, or those markers can be pushed behind the turn, so that the lord will permanently disband. But also you can prolong that service, and this is the levy phase, where you also levy vassals on the lord mats, and those vassals give you different troops, more troops, and also capabilities with these arts of war cards. Okay, and this is the levy part. The campaign part, you move those lords with a command card, with a sequence of command cards that you have defined at the beginning of the turn. So this is a predefined, a pre-planned sequence. You move them, and you move them around the map with a number of actions depending on the lord command ability. And those actions are move and fight, but also, and it's very important, supply, because those lords have to stay on the field, so you have to give them some cards, some transportation methods, transports to transport provender, or loot, or they can ravage land, or they can forage on the land to get their own provenders to stay on the field. And the battles, well, the battles are very abstracted. You score automatically. It's per the number of different troops you have on your mats involved in the battle, and together with the capabilities to also war cards. And then the defender tries to save from those hits based on the armor of their troops. And after that, you check supply, you check everything, and then you begin with another turn. This is the Levy Campaign, really in a nutshell. What I really liked about Inferno is that it takes all these and gets just one notch more. It gets up one notch. Why? Because it introduces in the series elements such as, for example, treachery, which is a very distinctive Italian trait for Wolf, and it is strange because we are not very proud of this treachery tradition in our history, but we are also a bit proud of this treachery tradition in our history. Why? Because it is part of our own heritage, such as the fact that we have this map with. This is just a portion, a small portion. It's a region that just, I would say, 1/10 of our own national territory, and see how many cities and towns and little things, little castles you have. It's very dense. But treachery, what does treachery? When you lose a battle, or if you have some knights that have been captured and you are not able to ransom them, or if you have some cards with some special characters, then you get to roll on a treachery table, and that treachery table gives you revolts behind the enemy lines. In this case, you have Siena. This green line is the border between Firenze and Siena, and you have so many revolts here. Why? Because these are all these settlements that have revolted before. This is the scenario just before Montaperti. Just moved a bit all the pieces for my videos in Italian. This means that you may have your armies, and all of a sudden you have revolts behind you. You have to get back or send someone to squash those revolts. But also treachery means that if you are near an enemy army, well, in this case, Siena could bribe Colle and send him home, or bribe one of the vassals of Colle, or if one of those Siena units are near one of the seats of the vassals, not just the vassals, they can bribe them to be tankers, to switch sides, to switch allegiance, and pass on their side. This happened so many times. Or cities, they can be taken by siege, by storm as usual, or they can be bribed to open the gates, and so you get the city. You just pay coin, you make a roll, or there are so various rules about that, and then you have the possibility of getting a city without a siege. This happened so many times. This was also a war of exiles. The entire historical situation is this. Just to be honest, I've seen some, and I've read some comments by non-Italian friends or non-Italian war gamers that say, okay, this was a struggle between the papacy and the empire. You had the Guelphs that were on the side of the Pope, the Ghibelline, which is Firenze, and the Ghibellines, that is Siena, that were on the side of the emperor. So the Guelphs were very religious, were papists, they were with the Pope, and Siena, no, they were anti-Catholic, they sided with the emperor. No, this is not the 30 Years' War, this is not the English Civil War, this has nothing to do with religion, just to be sure, just to be clear, sorry. It was a situation, I think, more similar to what we see, for example, in Pax Pamir. It was more an Afghan situation, just like Afghan in the 1800s. That is, Firenze was not supported by the Pope against the Emperor, and Siena by the Emperor against Firenze, that is the Pope. No, it was Siena that used the Emperor, or Firenze that used the Pope to have support for their own conflicts, for their own local conflicts. Siena and Firenze, they were the protagonists here, and they switched allegiance between the Pope and the Emperor as needed, as many times as it was needed. They used the Emperor and the Pope because we had a very weak emperor after the death of Frederick II, and with Manfredi, and the Hohenstaufen claim to the throne was shaky at best, but also the Pope was quite weak at the moment. So it was those cities that used the Emperor and the Pope for their own personal quarrels. You had exiles. Farinata degli Uberti was a Florentine who was exiled in Siena, and the fact that Siena had harbored Farinata and the other exiles from Firenze was one of the many casus belli, as well as the revolt here in the siege of Montepulciano, as we see here. And after that, after all these low intensity and warfare and raids, the two cities mastered, and here we have the other peculiar thing about Inferno. They mastered the communal armies, the armies of the city. Every neighborhood of the city, each one of Firenze sestieri, that is the sixth parts of the city, and each one of Siena's terzi, that is the thirds of the city, mastered troops, and they created great communal armies. You have to imagine the bells of the churches were ringing, everybody was going off to war, and they squared here at Montaperti, as is remember. Okay, here on Montaperti, as is remembered by the map and by Dante. And Dante said that during that day there was lo scempio che fece l'Arbia colorata in rosso, the great slaughter that made the Arbia, the river that runs near Montaperti, that made it red with blood. And yes, all these things still were present in Firenze's memory during Dante's period, during Dante's lifetime. And Dante will be an exile too. And Firenze was defeated. Siena asked, in Siena there was a debate, and what we have conquered Firenze, why not raise it to the ground? This was the level of this conflict. Be careful. This means that we have really risked of not having Firenze at all, because there was a strong part in Siena that wanted to raise Firenze to the ground and probably spill some salt on the earth, like Rome had made with Carthage. But it was Farinata degli Uberti who stood for his own city and said, I am a Florentine. I am not a traitor of my country, of my city. No, Firenze will stay, will be subject to Siena. It doesn't matter, we'll have to pay a tribute, but it not wait this war for you, dear friends of Siena, to see my city in ruins and destroyed. This is these are very touching moments, and all of these are in Inferno. Inferno, as I said, there are communal armies with their carroccio, the big cart with a cross, with priests giving mass before the battle, and standing as a reference point for wounded and for maneuvers during the battles. And then we have powerful vassals. We have imperial knights sent by Manfredi, by the emperor, to German knights who stand in Siena, probably not understanding what was happening around them, why all those crazy Italians were so busy killing each other in such a random and illogical way. This is Middle Ages, and this game has Middle Ages. This for me, this is one of the best, if not the best, medieval simulation actually present in the market, because it is all these random elements, all these personal fealties, all these non-kinetic elements that are masterfully introduced by the cards. The battles are abstracted. Yes, sure, you do not have so much control, but you did not have so much control on the battles in the medieval times. But the orders of battle are not abstracted, because if you see this particular vassal for Colle, for the podestà of Colle, has a name. He is the Count of Pitigliano, Aldobrandino Rosso, and he was also present in the chronicles of the day. And yes, he gives you one Barrovieri, which were light knights, light riders that were specialized on forage and pillage, and the militia. You have so much history in every single piece of this game. Okay, as an Italian, I know those places, I know this history, those characters, but I am amazed at how much history is condensed in this game. In a rule set that, yes, at first, when you see it for the first time, it might seem a bit intimidating, so much text, so many small rules to remember, but after a while, it becomes absolutely integrated. It is all streamlined. The sequence of play is very clear, and also for the situation, for some rules in Inferno, one of the other peculiar things about Inferno is that it is a perfect entry point in the series, because it is actually quite simple. The transportation is less punitive than in Nevsky. There are less problems with regions such in Almoravid, with the parias and the Taifa politics. It really gets to the point. Also, thanks to his many scenarios, there is a long campaign scenario, but there are so many small scenarios, so many small and medium scenarios. Some of them are incredible. One of them is, and each of them is introduced by Dante's verses, and one of them is lasciato ogni speranza, leave every hope behind you. Why? Because they are the Florentine exiles. Firenze has been conquered by Siena, and so you have all those Florentine lords scattering around the map to try to save themselves and try to organize a resistance. You have scenarios where the two will never meet frontally, directly, or if they do, they will do so at the end of the scenario, and before it is just each other coming down to squash their own rebellions. And you have small details, such as the fleet of Pisa that can get to the Arno up river to Firenze and also supply everyone. But Pisa is very difficult for the Ghibellines to have. Why? Because Pisa was loyal to Corradino, which was another imperial pretender to Manfredi. So, for example, peasant troops were probably not present at Monteperti. I cannot say how much this game has moved me, has engaged me, has caught me. It has, both from a rational point, because I see the difficulties in coordination, in army coordination with the command structure. I see the reason for the timing of service, of disbanding the lords, each and every lord. I see also the reason for having such abstracted battles, but all of the lords of the armies, they have some very peculiar abilities that are with the different types of troops, or they can be added with capabilities of cards such as the balestrieri and the palvesari, that is the crossbowmen and the tower shieldmen. I don't know what is the English name for pavese. No, okay, a big tower shield that was planted to cover the crossbowmen while they were reloading their dreadful crossbows. You have also Via Francigena, that was one of the pilgrimage ways. It was used also for military movements. Another peculiar things about Inferno is that movement on these roads is quite easier. You have supply, the importance of supply, of sieges. Sieges are more important than battles, but sometimes you have to do a storm to break a siege before a relief army arrives, and the storms are terrible at first. Or you have open battles. They're risky, they're random, as they should be. At least from a rational standpoint. From an emotional standpoint, as I said, this is history, this is our national history, okay, right? But even if you're not Italian, if you do not know any of these people, you get read the beautiful 64 pages background book, which is an encyclopedia about this conflict, and you will see so many stories that you will not just know, you will not believe those stories. They seem taken out of Game of Thrones or of a fantasy book. Why? Because all those fantasy books were also inspired by these conflicts. And you see characters, you see tragedies, you see cities destroyed, cities in ruin, you see the revolt, you see the people that leave their city behind them in flames, and then such as Cortona, and stand 2 years here at Lake Trasimeno, at Lago Trasimeno, waiting for the moment to get back to their city, to recapture their city and all their belongings. And you get characters like Farinata degli Uberti, who was an exile, yes, but not a traitor, not an enemy of his own city, at least in his own thoughts, because Dante and the Florentines had other thoughts regarding Farinata, and you will choose your side. Fantastic. I can't say anything well enough for this game. Really, I'm at a loss in expressing this. Another thing on the entire series, but on this game in particular in the series, I think, okay, it is also very easy for me, since I know almost every one of those places, because I frequently go here on vacation. I also many friends and family friends since I was a child here at Barberino, at San Gimignano, at San Miniato. It is very nice to be able to pronounce these names. Okay, since I'm international reviews, some friends who are non-Italian, they have, okay, there's some funny pronunciation. Some of them are quite good, I have to say. Possibly, if you want, I will make a pronunciation guide for Inferno. But it's just great to see, even in foreign language, foreign accents, our names that are part of our history, and that are appreciated. And even after that, it is a fun game. It is very fun. It is can change. The map will change. Why? Because these are very fertile lands. This is an infernal war. This is an inferno. This fought in one of the most beautiful places of our country. Yes, that is the Chianti Shire, guys. This is where English rich men come to get their villas now. And there's a very fertile land. So you see those ravage during the good season, they disappear. It is amazing. Every single play of it is different, thanks to the revolt table, to the many different choices. There's even more than the previous titles. So yes, cut the story short, I really love this game. I love its components. I've had one small problem. You will see that these are not the original components, the Ghibelline ones. They are yellow. Why? Because the original components, I don't know why, the original cylinders were orange. This is not gold though, and the one that is gold is not gold, this is orange. And the orange has absolutely nothing to do with the Siena and the Imperial Heraldry. So I had some bits and I changed them. The Guelphs, the Florentine pieces, are good at their color. They're strange, they're a bit short, so that I don't know if it's okay, it is visible. The sticker is a bit bigger than the cylinder, so I'm thinking about substituting them too for other purple cylinders and make my own personal copy. Okay, this is a very minor thing. This was not present in Almoravid and Nevsky. Possibly also the pieces are just 1 millimeter, just one tad smaller. Don't know why, but okay. This is really a minor quibble. The game is great. It is very modular. You can decide how long it is, because there are many small scenarios. There is a long, incredible, epic scenario where really everything can happen, and it is fun. It is nice. It is quite easy once you get the hang of it. The flow, the turn. That is, after one turn you will be able to use it, to use the game, to navigate the game. But be careful, because there are so many small things that I did not mention to you, the details that you will understand. For example, even if a city is in revolt, one of your cities, you do not ravage its lands, because the enemy will get the victory point, because these are your lands, for example. To be honest, also, for example, there are some Machiavellian things to do. Machiavelli will be born much later, but Machiavellian, for example, if you are sure that your enemy has no coin, capture his knights, because he will not be able to ransom those knights, and if those knights are not trampled and not ransomed, voila, revolts and treachery. Also, there is a bit of something of a with the people Hannibal feeling, when by the fact that when you lose a battle, when you win a battle, you impose treachery rules on your opponent. All those small things, and also the Arts of War cards that are great. So I really recommend this game. If you're curious about Italian history, in particular medieval history and warfare in general, or if you are just looking for a good game, for a fun game, also for a good entry point to the Levy and Campaign series, and for a beautiful piece of art that is not just game, that is not just history, but really it is a piece of art. It is for me, this is art, not just a game. I'm looking at my notes if there is something. Oh yes, it is possible to play it solitaire, essentially at the best of your ability. There is no bot, but it is not hard to play it solitaire. And so really, this is if you want to understand how a medieval campaign was fought and organized and planned and so on, you really need one of the games in the Levy Campaign series. And if you have not played any game in the Levy Campaign series, start from Inferno, because it is quite easy. The logistic aspect is very important, but it is not so punitive, so difficult to plan, and the game is fun. It is always something happening around you or behind you, and something different to exploit at every single play. After that, of course, you get back to Nevsky, which was more direct and more frontal, or Almoravid, which was even more fascinating with all the history of the Spanish Reconquista, of the Cid, etc., and waiting for the new titles, for the next titles in the series. I'm really waiting for Plantagenet, that is about the War of the Roses, but there is also Henry about the 100 Years' War, Seljuk about Turks and Byzantines. So many titles are coming in the series, but for me, Inferno will always have a very special place in my heart. So this has been Inferno, a game I cannot recommend highly enough. I really thank Volko for having given Enrico the possibility of designing and producing this great game, and thank all the folks at the GMT and at the Levy Campaign staff for having brought to life these characters that I know since I was a child, since I was in school, and I spent evening and nights reading Dante and getting immersed by his great poetry. And this poetry has become a game, but it's felt inside this game. It's very important inside this game. So this was Inferno. Let me know what you think of it. And for once, my weird English pronunciation has has been accompanied, came together with my Italian pronunciation. Don't worry if you cannot pronounce well these names. Sometimes even we are not so sure. For example, I'm not sure if this is Casole or Casole, and don't worry. Just have fun. Welcome to our national history that, as you see, is very fun. It is very nice. It is very treacherous, very bloody, but also so much fascinating. And if you have the possibility, come here in Italy and spend some time in Lucca, Firenze, Siena, Arezzo, Pisa, but also San Gimignano, San Miniato, Montalcino, Montepulciano, Colle, Massa Marittima, Castiglione della Pescaia, Grosseto, Santa Fiora. I can read them all, and they are all beautiful places, very full of history. And all of this history is here in Inferno. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Volko. Grazie, Enrico. And thanks to everyone you for having stayed with me. As always, see you next time. Have a good time. And remember, don't be scared. It's just war games. Ciao.